Mr. Mayor, it would be helpful if you could give us a target date, if you're able to, on when you think services will return to 100%.
Yeah, good question. So TfL are part of what's called the government's rail delivery group, and we've been working for some weeks with DfT, again, collegially and collaboratively. The first phase was to return to 70% by 18th of May. And we managed to exceed that, and I was able to give you the really good news about we're about 90+% on tube rush hour, 85% buses, 100% TfL rail. Our rail delivery group are asking the TOCs to get to 100% in early June. Because of the last number of our staff who are shielding, we can't say it will happen by 1st of June. I think more realistic is middle of June, for the simple reason, because of the age profile of our staff, some of them are older and have underlying health conditions. So I can't say definitively a date, but we're working to go as soon as possible. The sooner the better. I think more realistic, just to manage your expectations, is middle of June, but it could happen sooner if we get people back swifter from shielding, self-isolation or sickness.
So maybe back before the Premier League then, Mr. Mayor. So
well, there's not an announcement yet, is there? I'm not sure. Maybe I missed that.
Mid-June. On the matter or the issue of capacity, I think it was the Minister, Rachel Maclean, Transport Minister, who recognised the advantages of social distancing of using motorcycles. Also, clearly, riding a motorcycle is safer, I would argue, in relation to not getting or exposing yourself to the virus than maybe the tube, the trains and the buses. You've said already, Mr. Mayor, that we will not be able to carry the number of people that we already do in relation to our public transport system. So would you agree that motorcycling would be one of the options? Clearly, we would prefer people to walk and cycle, but I don't think that's a real option for people who live further out in places like my areas of Havering and Redbridge. But motorcycling, I think there was someone who said, you might know who it was, motorcycles generate far less pollution, save time and money for the rider, and don't create congestion. I don't know if you know who said that, Mr. Mayor.
There's a wise owl.
You was, of course, yourself.
So can you raise a good point? So, sorry.
Yeah, so if I could just finish then, Mr. Mayor. The ask is really at this moment in time, because of the importance that motorcycles play in getting people around without the risk of getting infected, because of the importance that motorcycles play in keeping London running, you will know that many people who are in lockdown have been relying on the motorcycle deliveries for their food, for their prescriptions and so on. Would you at this time, Mr. Mayor, please exclude motorcycles of any age from the ULEZ charge so that we can get the maximum use of motorcycles at this very important time?
Well, look, firstly, thank you for raising this issue. It's an important issue. So you'll be aware that the motorbikes are exempt from the congestion charge. Now, the reason why they're not exempt from the ultra-low emission zone is because that tackles air quality issues, and we're keen to keep on top of the air quality issues. And so I'm afraid we aren't going to be making motorcycles exempt from the ULEZ, although they'll continue to be exempt from the congestion charge. What we've not done is to, when the government asks us to widen the scope of the congestion charge, when the government asks us to change the levels of the congestion charge, what we're not doing is bringing motorbikes into the congestion charge. We could have done that, and that would made the government very happy because it raised more money. We've not done that. And so it's really important to put that on record. And so I'm more than happy for you to meet with the TfL team to explain some of our thinking around this. But can I just say this? I know you're very well respected in this community. We have seen a large number of increase of collisions in the last few weeks with motorcyclists, and any influence that you've got, just pass on the importance of riding safely, because I'm worried about the increase in fatalities and collisions. It's about 30% of collisions have been motorcyclists. That's far higher than it is during the non-pandemic phase.
Okay, Mr. Smith. So I would like to take you up on the offer of a meeting. Would we be able to have them? I've got some experts who want to meet with you. Is it possible we could meet with you?
Absolutely. So, Chair, why don't we agree this? Why don't I agree for the TfL team to meet up with Keith and his experts as soon as possible, because he wants to be quickly, and we'll do it as soon as possible to make that happen.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, Mr. Mayor, if I can move on. Again, this is around capacity. taxis, if I could just read to you some of the messages that I'm getting from taxi drivers, Mr. Mayor. It's from Steve Kay, who's in one of my constituents. I'm deeply concerned regarding the latest announcements from the Mayor's office looking at the possibility of excluding diesel taxis from a number of major streets in the city. Given that less than 30% of the industry is zero emission capable, and because of the current situation pertaining to COVID-19, it is unlikely that purchasing a zero emission capable ZEC vehicle would be financially viable given the current work levels. The same issues would also apply to renting a ZEC. But he goes on to say that he thinks many drivers will go out of work. Another resident, Gary Kay, the latest news is a huge worry for myself and other black cab drivers, even though we have one of the only vehicles in London where social distancing can truly be practiced and is fully wheelchair accessible. We have also been badly affected due to COVID-19, and our work levels at present time are almost non-existent. And then finally, from Stephanie, another resident, I'm a 31-year-old single mother who spent a long time and effort passing the knowledge of London to enable myself to have flexible hours to look after my 1-year-old son. The new proposals which are under review will completely destroy my living, i.e. the closure of Waterloo and London Bridge to all vehicles except buses and cycles. Mr. Mayor, at this time when social distancing is imperative for people's safety, London taxis have a built-in partition that keep the drivers safe and passengers safe. Only London taxis can drop people with mobility impairment outside where they need to go. Even buses can't do that, Mr. Mayor. So can you at this time, at least until this issue is over, making sure that taxis can go where buses go, Mr. Mayor?
Well, firstly, I will make sure that the comments from the taxi drivers are passed on to TfL. That forms part of the engagement we need to have before the changes are made. Secondly, I've already said in outline to a previous question that we're planning to allow zero emission capable taxis to have access to those streets where only walkers, cyclists and buses are allowed. And it's not our plan at the moment to allow heavily polluting diesel taxis to access those streets. But if there are other comments from other taxi drivers, can I please ask you to let TfL have them? Because we are keen to hear directly from those who have got views on the widening of the scope and level of charges that we're being required to do by the government.
Okay, because of the time, I'm going to have to leave it there, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Right, Mr. Mayor, next question.